one respect, just having to watch what Israel is doing in Gaza is so horrific. And on the other side, watching the United States fall over itself trying to defend what Israel is doing in Gaza is so horrific. And on yet another level, the attempts in Congress and beyond to silence any voice that challenges this dominant narrative of defense of genocide, and the ways that charges of anti-Semitism are being used to try to stifle and silence any whisper of challenge to what Israel is doing. And, we see this coming out of the Israeli government. We see it coming out of the US government. We see it coming out of institutions of higher education. And like the whole national obsession with anti-Semitism is really shocking to me when you look at all of the kinds of racism and discrimination that exist in the United States without remark. And then, one college student at some obscure university makes an anti-Semitic comment, and it's all over the front pages of the paper. I've been thinking about that myself, how, I'm Jewish, and I have been exposed to anti-Semitism in my life on multiple occasions in different ways, and especially working in Latin America, where anti-Semitism is practically part of the culture. Most people have never met anybody Jewish, and they just have like ideas about Jews that came probably through the Catholic Church or whatever. But comparing that to sexism, which I also experience, I would say, far more frequently and than anti-Semitism in my life, practically every day. Of course, both sexism and anti-Semitism in some cases, and again, I would say far more frequently with sexism than with anti-Semitism, have really severe effects on people's lives. In the case of my life, they've been mostly annoyances because I'm very privileged. But again, the way that anti-Semitism is turned, well, so one piece is the way that anti-Semitism is like magnified and become this constant topic of conversation, as opposed to other much more egregious forms of hatred and discrimination that destroy people's lives, including, of course, genocide against Palestinians. But the other is the ways that pro-Israel organizations in the United States have succeeded in convincing a large sector of the US public, and especially of the educated elite in Congress and in higher education, that criticism of Israel is automatically anti-Semitic. And, a lot of this relies on a definition of anti-Semitism that was written by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IHRA, that suggests that criticism of the state of Israel is an example of anti-Semitism. And quite a few institutions of higher education have adopted that definition officially. Almost half the states in the United States have at the state level adopted it. The Trump administration adopted it for federal agencies. So, it really mixes up something called anti-Semitism with political positions, political debate, and makes it really hard to have political debate on campus. And, on my own campus, our Students for Justice in Palestine organization held a silent vigil, and people held signs. And one of the signs said, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And the coordinator of student activities called in the board of SJP to talk about this fact. And she said, one of your signs said, from the river to the sea. And we said, yeah, so is that a prohibited phrase? Like, we didn't see that anywhere in the rules about student demonstrations, that you couldn't use that phrase. We really tried to follow all the rules. We read them very carefully. And, if you're going to prohibit certain language, you have to tell us. You can't just come at us afterwards. And she said, well, no, it's not prohibited, but it made students feel unsafe. Really? Like, anyone can say they feel unsafe. I'm not going to deny what people feel, but so does anybody just get to shut down debate because they say it makes them feel unsafe? I feel like the language is used very, very broadly here. So instead of asking the student, well, why did you feel unsafe? Did anybody threaten you? It's like, no, we just have to tell them that they have to be very careful what they say because they could make people feel unsafe.